All right, folks, welcome back to another Word with Brenden, and today we're talking about perhaps the pinnacle.
This might be
of Martin guitar production, the Authentic series. Very, very, very cool. Take us there.
What is it? Well, first of all, there's just a whole lot of sounds coming out of that instrument, coming out the front. It's I can feel it vibrating, and we'll talk about some of the things that make that happen. If you go back and you look at the video on the 16, the 00016, we talked about torrefied wood, and Robbie mentioned how you can get something close to an authentic in 1999, but this is the real deal. This is harkening back to those moments in Martin history that are considered the golden era of guitars, and there's a couple things that make these really special. One that when I first picked this up, that really strikes me every time I get one, and it may be because I'm a bass player and I play upright, but I love an authentic neck. This is a full thickness neck. This is the way it was done back then. Full thickness isn't for everybody, right? That's why there are many guitars to try, but this is a lot of neck, and it's I don't mean that to say that it's uncomfortable. I find them comfortable. For many guitar players,
I do too. I love it.
It might take a little getting used to.
And these neck profiles are only offered on these. You can only get the authentic profiles on authentic guitars. Right.
Correct.
Now, how did you guys come to making this authentic line? How did this originate over at Martin?
Well, frankly, our biggest competitor has always been previous versions of ourselves.
Yeah.
Right? We were competing against the vintage market, and some of those instruments get very, very expensive. We're talking six-figure expensive.
Very, very expensive.
So we saw an opportunity to try to recreate some of those instruments with the original building practices and specifications, including the glue that we'll talk about. And it all came together into a guitar that it's a little bit more expensive than your average standard line instrument, but when you consider a regular 28 in the mid threes, and we're talking about a D18. Well, so let's say D18. So upper twos, lows threes, and we're talking about an authentic here that is about double that. But there's a whole lot of stuff that you're getting.
There's a whole lot going on there, and I think this is, I mentioned that I thought personally, just my opinion, that this is maybe the pinnacle of what Martin produces today, because I think all of what makes them exceptional, historical, awesome, goes into these guitars. I mean, the vintage Martins are wonderful. And I'm certainly not saying anything disparaging about a vintage Martin, so please don't construe that from this comment. But I have long made the argument that we really live in the golden age of guitar building right now.
Yeah. Because
the way that we're able to make guitars has come so far, and it's really, really, really shown in the Authentic series. And I'd like Brenden to take a minute and just tell you guys exactly what makes Authentics so cool, and what you're really getting when you buy one of these.
So let's start with the top. The soundboard, or the top, is one of the most important features on a guitar. This is a beautiful piece of Adirondack. In addition to that, it's a torrefied piece. So we call this VTS, which stands for Vintage Tone System. And what that means is that the top is torrefied. It was dried through a process which changes its cell structure. And through that, you get a guitar that sounds about 80 years old, roughly, give or take. When you combine that, the torrefied top, and the effects that the torrefaction has on the wood, you combine that with hide glue, which is the original glue that was used before modern glues. That really accentuates everything that's happening. So we talked about in a 45, the boundary condition where the top and side meet. You have a really a different setup for that glue, and it's transferring sound differently.
Because hide glue kind of crystallizes. It gets harder than a regular wood glue, and therefore it transmits sound differently.
Correct.
Right.
And you can hear that immediately. with my childish playing, you may not hear the difference. But again, I'm picking up this guitar and I'm feeling sound that I don't get on a regular instrument, and it starts at a very low volume. So a low amount of energy going into the guitar, and I already feel something happening. And then you can really dig into these and push them, and they're not going to compress.
And these are something that you really appreciate if you spent any time with vintage instruments, because the feeling and just the production that they have, you'll get that familiarity from an authentic series guitar.
Another thing about that neck that I was talking about earlier, so you asked a great question in one of the other videos about what does that do for me? What does it do for the customer? So I talk about this thick neck, and I'm very comfortable with it again. But why a thick neck? And these necks were thick originally because there were no adjustable truss rods.
Stability, right?
Martin wasn't using them, right? I think Gibson had adjustability back in the 30s, but we didn't start using an adjustable truss rod until 1984.
But there is a truss rod.
There is a
reinforcement.
There is a reinforcement, so there is a truss.
It's not that there's nothing in there, but
yeah. That's a good clarification. So the original guitars either had TBars, so like a T trussing, like you'd see. Basically, it looks like a rail from a railroad, right?
Yeah.
Or they had a piece of ebony, which was pretty stiff.
Yeah.
And a lot of the changes that happened, the reason for going to the T-bar to the ebony was wartime.
Wartime.
Yeah.
All the metal was being used for other things.
Yeah. Similar story with herringbone, right?
Yeah.
So things, a lot of changes that happened from 1920s to whenever.
They were a necessity of the times.
They were a necessity of the times, exactly. So that big neck, however, not only is it's stable and it has a certain feel, but another thing that we learned about transfer of energy is that the more mass that's here is the more it's going to come back, because the energy's going up here and it's coming back, and with this big neck it's not really inhibited by anything. It's sending it all back.
That's a great point, and that's another thing that you can really observe when you play these. That's and along those same lines, you'll notice that the Authentics all have the long through saddle that comes down into the wings of the bridge, which kind of distributes sound on the top a little different than your standard drop-in saddle. Even the pins are authentic pins in the sense that they're not slotted.
Right.
The bridge is slotted and the pins are not, which is... So you do the necks the same way with the non-adjustable truss, without the adjustable truss rod.
Correct. And you'll note if you're looking at one of these on a wall and you're not sure what it is, look in here, and you won't see a hole to access any truss rod through the number one brace there.
Yeah.
The other couple of details, real fine details that are interesting, is that there's no finish above the 14th fret. It kind of stops here.
Yep.
And the reason for that is that the necks back in those time periods, 20s, 30s, they were held and sprayed. So they were actually holding it in their hand. Therefore, no spray would get on that part of the neck.
Interesting.
Yeah. When we do that today, they go around on a stick, and the spraying is able to access the whole fingerboard. And the other thing is the overall finish, the body finish. This is probably the best story about the Authentics.
I was hoping that you were going to talk about that.
It is the result of some technology helping to go back to original. And what happened was there are programs available that can scan documents, and we have in our archives we have an incredible amount of detail about how things were done. One of the things that was scanned and found was a recipe for the old finish, which was really amazing. And that was just looking through 10,000 documents and finding the right terminology. So we found that recipe, and although not exact, it's really close to the original finish. And it's done with, it is lacquer, and then it's actually sprayed on, it's buffed, and then the sheen is taken back to give it that old time look.
Very cool. Is it thinner than?
It's thinner as well.
It's thinner as well. So allows a little bit more movement to the wood.
Correct.
It's just so cool how they do these guitars, and like I said, the bridge is if you'll notice, the saddle is slanted, but the pins are not. Just like they would have been. There's cloth strips on the insides of these guitars. it's really so close to having a vintage guitar manufactured today. You really need to pick one up and play it to fully appreciate what they are capable of with the Authentic series guitars, and we are very proud and excited to offer them here at Hubert Breeze. So we have this D18 in stock. We also have, not on the floor at this moment, we also have an Authentic D45 aged in stock. With Christmas time coming, could be a gift for a very loved person.
The ultimate gift
in your life. And that guitar is, in fact, Brazilian, a beautiful set.
Is your wife listening?
Of Brazilian rosewood. Honey. We did a video on that guitar too. You can go back through the archives and check out on the Reviews Day, the Robby's Reviews Day YouTube channel, the D45S 1936 Authentic, aged in Brazilian rosewood. Very cool. But yeah, come on down to the shop and check out these Authentic guitars. These are really cool. We are perhaps talking the pinnacle of guitar making here, ladies and gentlemen, and we have it right here in our showroom. So come down and visit and shake hands and try a great guitar. I want to thank Brenden for sharing his expertise and all-around Martin guitar prowess with all of us at Hubert Breeze.
Thank you, Rob.